Hi, let's see what we have here. Here we have a velocity time graph, and we are going to see what kind of information we can get from this graph. First of all, we have a straight line, and that straight line means the velocity is changing at a constant rate. And I'm going to explain that to you. So first, let me write it down here. So the velocity is changing, in this case is increasing at a constant rate. That means that we have a straight line. Okay, so first let's understand constant rate. So look at the graph. From 0 to 1 second, so we go from this point to that point. So the velocity is increasing by 4 meters per second. Another 1 second, from 1 to 2 seconds, we go from this point to that point over there, and again the velocity is changing or increasing by 4 meters per second. Another 1 second, and again 4 meters per second. So the velocity is increasing at a constant rate. That's why we have a straight line, and that means we have a constant acceleration. So the acceleration is constant. So let me write it down here. So we have constant acceleration. And then we are going to calculate this acceleration. So the acceleration is change in velocity divided by time. And because the acceleration is constant, it doesn't matter which 2 points you want to pick. So you can, for example, you can go for first and final, or you can choose any points. Go for the easiest one to read. For example, you can choose from this point to that point. It doesn't matter. The acceleration is constant, so you can choose any points on the graph that is easy to read. So I'm going to choose the first one and the last one. So what is change in velocity? Change in velocity, we go from 0 meters per second to that point here. Let me cross over here, 12. So we go from 0 to 12. So change in velocity is 12 meters per second, and that took 3 seconds. So 12 divided by 3, the answer is 4. And remember, the unit is meter per second squared. So that is the acceleration. I'm going to calculate another thing here. When we have a velocity time graph, we can calculate the average velocity. And if we want to calculate the average velocity, I'm going to use this formula. So average velocity, I don't use distance divided by time, because in this case here, we don't have distance. We use this formula, the initial velocity plus the final velocity divided by 2. So the initial velocity, or the velocity at the beginning, is 0. The final velocity is 12 meters per second, and then divided by 2 is 6 meters per second. So when we have a velocity time graph, we can calculate acceleration or deceleration by using this formula. Acceleration is change in velocity divided by time. We can also calculate the average velocity by using this formula, initial velocity, or velocity at the beginning. plus the final velocity divided by 2 is the average velocity.